Solar panels are really the easiest, most cost-effective, and most environmentally friendly way to produce your electricity. That's why, as you can see behind me, I've started installing solar panels in my garden to become more self-sufficient in electricity production. But a few days ago, I realized that this whole setup was illegal. I didn't follow the required administrative procedures to properly declare these panels. So, in this video, I want to explain all the regulations you need to follow so that when you install solar panels at your home, you won't be breaking the law like I did. Well, you'll see, it's a semi-clickbait title because I have since rectified this situation. There's not much paperwork. There are only 3 major steps: the declaration to Enedis, the declaration to the town hall, and the declaration to the Consuel. Small parenthesis, I wrote a book on building a container house from A to Z, a small guide for beginners to help you with your projects. This book, it's free, you can download it from the video description. There you go, I'm offering it to you. Rest assured, if you've installed less than 3000 peak watts of solar panels, particularly if they're ground mounted, there's no need to worry. You're not breaking the law since you don't need authorization to ask. The only step you'll have to take is to go to the Enedis website, make a new request, and actually declare your electricity production. You're not asking for permission from Enedis, you're just declaring how many panels you have connected to the network so that Enedis knows how much electricity you're going to feed back in. The second case scenario is if you install solar panels more than 1.80 meters off the ground on your roof, for example. Or if you install more than 3000 W peak of solar panels. As is the case with me, there you will absolutely need to make a preliminary declaration of work to the town hall to ask for their permission. If you are building a new house, you can include your request to install solar panels in your building permit. This will save you from making 10,000 administrative steps. But later on, if you want to add more panels to your roof, you will have to make another declaration at the town hall. However, if you want to install a few more plug-and-play panels in your garden, that's fine. You only need to declare to Enedis, no need to seek permission from the town hall again. I couldn't resist. I've installed more than 3000 W peak solar panels. So I went through to the upper category. And I should have made a preliminary declaration of work at the town hall to have the right to do all this installation. So, just for the little anecdote. This video is a partnership with BIM, but it's really because I've tested too many of their products. That I started to have quite a setup in my garden and that I've exceeded this threshold. But don't worry, nothing too serious. Because I'm going to make the declaration to the town hall and tell them I want to put a little more panels than planned in my garden. If they refuse, we'll remove other brands and choose who leaves between BIM Sonology and Anchor. There you go. It will be a bit like the Hunger Games in my garden, but it will happen. If you exceed 3000 peak watts of solar panels and you want to store or resell the surplus electricity, well then, you will have to take the third step, which is to call in a consul, a professional, who will come and check your solar installation. We can summarize it like this. If you want to produce a little electricity, they let you play around. You don't need to ask for permission as soon as you start playing with more electrical current. There, a professional needs to come and check that you're not making too many mistakes. Knowing that if you buy plug-and-play panels, even with an integrated battery, you don't need a Consuel. Why? The panels have been factory tested and validated, so there are no issues. On the other hand, if you have a battery at home, connected to solar panels on the roof, a more classic system, then a professional needs to come and validate all of this. You have 3 options to call on the Consul. The first is to go to the Consul website and make the request yourself. The second option is when you buy a solar panel kit. Generally, the seller of the panels offers an option to take care of the paperwork on your behalf. And the third option is if you hire a professional installer. In that case, they will take care of it. Expect to pay around 200 euros for the Consuel, a little more expensive if you go through the panel sellers. The person handling the paperwork will likely charge an additional commission. And once the Consuel has passed and validated your installation, well, that's it. You can start storing or reselling your surplus electricity. We are in France, so there I have given you the law. But of course, there are many exceptions. The first exception, for example, is the energy supplier Equator, which offers to buy back your production. Plug-and-play panels without needing to go through a Consuel. And anyway, the Consuels, for now, they do not validate the installations of plug-and-play panels. It does not fit into their grid. They cannot validate. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but that's because, in fact, technology is evolving too fast compared to the law. Many absurd situations exist where products are available without a legal framework or council to validate them. So we are in a kind of blur that should be resolved in the coming years, I hope. Now, to resell your electricity, you will have the choice between several options, which will directly depend on who installed your solar panels. The first option is if you went through a certified professional installer, RGE. In this specific case only, you may resell your surplus to EDF. But it's an option that I advise against because it's really much more expensive to go through professionals. A friend's parents had 3,000 peak watts installed on their roof. With resale to EDF, it cost them 12,000 euros. A 3,000 watt peak do-it-yourself solar kit costs around 2,800. Add to that 200 euros for Consuel, that makes 3,000 euros, which is 4 times less than if you had gone through a professional installer. It still has 2 advantages. The first is that you have nothing to do. A professional takes care of everything. For some people, this can be essential. And the second advantage is that by going through a professional installer, you are entitled to subsidies. But, well, it's in the order of 1,000 euros, so economically it's still not profitable compared to a kit to install yourself. A few years back, you had no choice. There was only EDF that bought back the surplus production from solar panels, and EDF required going through an installer. RGE. Today, the situation is very different. You have plenty of electricity suppliers who offer to buy back your surplus without needing to have this RGE approval. You just need the Consuel and you're good to go. As promised, I've summarized all this information in a table that I will present to you. If you have an installation less than 3 kilowatts peak, you will only have to declare it to an EDIS. If you have an installation greater than 3 kW of peak, you will have to declare it to an EDIS, to the town hall, and get it approved by the Consuel. Knowing they won't validate plug-and-play panels, limit it to 3000 W peak. Adding more is pointless. If you want to store your energy, you will have to call in a Consuel unless they are batteries integrated into the plug-and-play panel. And if you want to sell the surplus, you will have to get the Consuel to pass unless it's with plug-and-play panels. And the Equator offer, for example, additional bonus, I also advise you to call your home insurance to tell them that you have solar panels. This will add them to the contract, protecting them if a problem arises. If there is hail, a big storm, or they break, well, I advise you to do that. I also advise you to tell your electricity provider that you have solar panels. This will allow you to reduce your monthly payments or even reduce the package you have taken. For example, switch from 9 kVA to 6 kVA since the panels produce some power, reducing your needs. And one last little tip, it's more of a technical advice than a legal one. Be aware that you can't send back over 6,000 watts of electricity to the grid when in single phase. To sell back over 6,000 watts of electricity, you must switch to 3-phase. In conclusion, if you want an installation of less than 3 kilowatts, I recommend you go for plug-and-play panels that you lay on the ground. That way you have a very easy installation to do, and above all, not much paperwork. If you go for that, I recommend the Bimon, which are excellent value for money. If you want a larger installation, to be even more autonomous, I recommend you go for traditional solar panels, which can be approved by the Consuel. If you're interested, BIM also offers a range of panels to put on the roof. If you really don't want to deal with all the administrative part, I highly recommend choosing the options offered by solar panel vendors. This way, they handle all the administrative tasks for you. It costs extra money, but given what the solar panels will produce over their lifetime, it's very quickly profitable. And if you are in a mindset to maximize the profitability of your purchase, you can do the administrative work yourself. It's not that complicated. I did it myself. I did a part with BIM. It's really not very complicated. I hope this video has helped you to see more clearly in all the regulations, all the different options you have to also get into solar, because it's very, very interesting. I put a lot of sources in the video description. I also put the link to the panels from BIM. So don't hesitate to go see that. Don't hesitate to also complete this video in the comments. This way we'll have the most information possible. Thanks for watching. Until the end, it was Julian Malara. I'll see you soon. Thank you.